All right. Okay, Adrian. We're live.
Okay, we have this started. Where do you want to start?
Well, I think we're a little behind on the Russia goes abouts. I don't know if you want to start on.
Well, I don't think it's possibly on top of that. Honestly, there's constantly something going on.
Yeah.
So as far as new stuff that's happened, cardboard drones.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
Honestly, I mean, I have to expect that they are, because just at face value, that doesn't sound like it sounds like a joke. But if you think about it, I bet that they're made of cardboard as like the structure, but they my first thought was like a milk carton, you know, like it's kind of the same thing. It's like a cardboard material, but it just has a wax around it. So, but it's pretty, I mean, it's, you know, it's decent.
So, I mean...
So you put a couple engineers behind it, and before you know it, you're using cheap materials and very quick.
Yeah, the full backstory is Australia has sent these lightweight, cheap, mass-producible cardboard drones out to Ukraine to, you know, help support their effort in repelling Russia. And they are legitimate, like, cardboard, like what a regular box is made out of, with a little, I don't know, the picture I saw looked like the same engine or motor you could get from like an RC hobby shop.
Yeah.
And they're just strapping basically a landmine to the thing and sending them out. What's crazy to me is that they've been successful with them. They've taken out multiple like fighter jets on the ground. They've taken out a couple of bombers, and most impressively to me, they've taken out an S-300 anti-air radar system. And that's it's kind of raising some eyebrows back on the home front here.
Yeah.
Because I don't think like Raytheon or any of our, I don't know who actually builds the Patriot anti-air system, which is our anti-air system. But I don't think they ever tested them on cardboard. Yeah, I saw a video on YouTube, and they didn't cite any sources, but the guy is like an instructor on air defense for the U.S. military, so like I trust that he knows what he's talking about. But you know, they tested against steel, obviously, aluminum, which is what we use in, you know, what everyone uses in their planes, titanium. They even tested against wood in case someone was flying an old wooden plane. Don't think they tested against cardboard.
Yeah, but how would a cardboard be I mean, it's a softer material. Like, wouldn't that like is that kind of your point? How the hell did they test it against all of these other
it's a matter of like, what do you want to spend your money on? Do you want to test, you know, against the things that planes are conventionally made out of, or, you know, the cruise missiles are conventionally made out of? They're all made out of aluminum, steel, and titanium.
Yeah.
And again, they even went so far as to check wood.
Yeah.
But up until like now, no one's using cardboard. I'm not sure what the radar return like characteristics are of cardboard. Yeah. Is this the new stealth?
Yeah, so is that what you're saying? Or are you saying like it's flying under the radar of these systems, or that they literally flew it into this radar?
Well, what I'm saying
physically hit it.
I don't know what the radar return would be on a drone. Like, anti-air systems are already going to struggle against these small drones that have now.
You're saying that the radar systems,
it's an anti-air radar
picking
system.
It up.
Yeah, it's made to shoot other planes and incoming missiles out of the sky.
Yeah, so this new cardboard one
got past it.
Is flying right by without anyone detecting it.
I don't know the
more
details,
or less.
But
I mean,
it worked. They took out one of the S-300. I don't know if it'll take out an S-400. I don't know if it'll take out a Patriot.
Yeah.
I don't think we know if it'll take out our Patriot.
So it was able to get close enough to it without it detecting it, and was able to drop some sort of explosive.
It's a suicide drone. It crashes right into it and blows up.
No way. That's what I was asking too. I was like,
yeah. So it physically hit it.
So it physically crashed into it. Oh my gosh.
And again, we don't know how effective our radars are against. Yeah, the equivalent of like an Air Hogs RC plane with a hand grenade strapped to it.
Oh my god. So it is funny though, because I feel like if they were tested against metal and like you said, even wood, and they suspectably had passed in those scenarios, like it's crazy to think that cardboard is taking it down.
Yeah, but again, it's like, are you gonna test your $1 billion anti-air,
Yeah.
missile and missile launcher and radar system against a paper airplane?
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't even think to do that
Yeah.
until now.
Yeah, but the way that I'm thinking about it is that, like, I guess that's like saying that like well, why did we have to test our basketball against like nails? It's like, well, that's never going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
it's just
but,
they didn't think that they would ever need to check for this.
But
so
you
they
think
just didn't.
you would think that like the cardboard wouldn't matter if wood and metal couldn't hurt these things. Like, how is it the cardboard can?
It all has to do with like radar reflectivity. And again, I don't know, but like if radar waves just kind of pass through cardboard, on top of that, like I'm sure.
Okay, so wait, I think I know. I think I might be missing it. So what you're saying is the fact that like all of these metal and wood objects,
they reflect radar very well.
Yeah, so they would all also take out this radar system, but if they weren't picked up.
That's the thing. Radar does pick
Yeah,
them up.
So like that's the part that like you lost me at. So just to explain through my brain.
Well, do you know how radar works?
Well, let me just explain. I'm with you here, but I just want to explain it through my brain because I got confused. Anyone else who's listening might get confused for me. So you're saying that this cardboard drone was successful at just crashing straight into this
thing
radar
designed to
system
detect
that's designed
threats from the air.
Right. So it should have picked all that stuff up. It should have picked up everything. But the thing is, they never tested it against cardboard.
Yeah.
Not its physical structure. It's just its ability to detect. So the radar system was tested against detecting metal, wood, aluminum, not cardboard.
Not cardboard.
So I thought what you were saying was that it wasn't like it wasn't crash tested against cardboard.
Oh,
like,
no.
Like this doesn't make sense at all.
And the cardboard's not what damaged it. It's the explosive they strapped to it.
Yeah. So those are the pieces that like you knew those pieces, but I was like, what?
So, it failed to detect this cardboard drone and failed to shoot it out of the sky before the cardboard drone blew up that anti-aircraft system.
Yeah.
And again, we don't know if our system will stop. Now, I fully believe that the U.S. Patriot anti-air system is better than at least the S-300, and I'd like to think better than the S-400 because Russia has a history of overselling their wonder weapons, and we have a history of underselling our stuff. The SR-71 Blackbird has a top speed that everyone knows, but there's plenty of anecdotal stories of pilots just going, well, yeah, that's what they declassified. So we have a history of underselling. Russia has a history of overselling. The S-400s, they're like current cream of the crop anti-air. It's supposed to be the equivalent or superior to our Patriot. Don't know if I believe that. But we're also not sure if our system will work against these drones. So I think we actually had Australia send us a couple of those drones to do some testing.
Yeah, so go into that a little bit, like whatever you can, on like who developed it, and
all I know is that it came from Australia. I don't know what Australia's like defense contractors are.
I guess we can just assume that they were just like, hey,
these are cheap, these are easy, here you go.
You want to buy these? Yeah. I mean, hey, this was I guess like something that I don't know if this is good or bad. If we have cardboard drones, I don't know if this is quite a good thing, but that's what innovation can spur.
If necessity is the mother of innovation, war is the father.
Yeah.
But and that's the other thing. Ukraine's kind of, well, I think even Russia's engaging in it too. But like these cheap, small, not even like high range drones. Like when you talk about drones in military warfare, traditionally we're talking about like our Predator drone, our Reaper drone, like the big $1 million shoot down a missile, can loiter in the air for hours and hours and hours. These are just like hobby grade drones that
Yeah.
I think some of them they literally just strap grenades and a camera to. They fly over a
Yeah.
trench and drop a grenade in the trench. But they're also using these.
It's
like,
funny, but it's also not funny. It's
they're
not
using
funny,
these
but,
FPV
like,
drones to take out tanks.
Jesus.
So it's kind of a new era in warfare
Yeah.
where like you don't need to have $1 billion in a multi-billion-dollar drone program to be effective now.
Yeah.
Because the technology just caught up to where like these drones are cheap.
Yeah.
And not even just the cardboard ones.
Yeah.
So
How big are they?
the cardboard drones?
Yeah.
I don't actually know. I've seen a picture. I think I showed you a picture of it.
Yeah.
It looks like it's probably like maybe this big.
Yeah.
It doesn't look big at all. And
Like
that's
it probably
already
wouldn't quite. The wingspan probably doesn't quite fit through a doorway.
I don't even know if it's that big.
Yeah, I would have to expect it's probably that big.
I mean,
If it has a payload of even like a grenade, and it's got to have some wings, you know.
but these anti-aircraft systems are already going to struggle against even the non-cardboard drones because they're way smaller than like what they're usually looking for. They're usually looking for airplanes or like a missile.
Yeah.
Missiles are big.
Yeah.
They don't look that big when they're strapped to a jet, but if you
Yeah.
see, when they're loading it, they're like 6 feet, 7 feet long.
Yeah.
So they're already struggling with drones in general. Now we've got a step up from a paper airplane with a firecracker strapped to it. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Do you know how they're
something.
controlling them?
if I had to imagine,
Logitech controllers, and we'll use on the Ocean Gate submarine.
no, but if I had to imagine, I think they're using StarLink,
Oh shit!
which
Is a good segue.
yeah. So I want to clarify now. The Department of Defense has a contract
Yeah.
with SpaceX to supply Ukraine with Starlink. The terminals, the service, all of it. Originally, it was literally Ukrainian officials reached out to Elon on Twitter and just was
Yeah.
like, this would help us a lot. Can you send them? And there were no contracts. There were no red tape. That was literally just SpaceX going, here you go.
Yeah.
So that put everyone in this really weird spot where for the longest time SpaceX was funding this.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't being funded by the government. It wasn't being funded by NATO. And it goes beyond just like the material costs, and this is what I think a lot of people don't realize. Russia's trying to not just take out these terminals, but they're also trying to hack them. So SpaceX has to have staff 24/7 defending these, like in the digital space, as well as the Ukrainians defending the physical terminals. So this was costing SpaceX a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's where they first caught flack, where Elon kind of made a stink about like how no one's paying him, and everyone's like trying to throw him and SpaceX under the bus, and it's just like, no, you don't get it. Like this is not cheap. This isn't just the cost of the hardware. Like they've got to pay staff 24/7 to keep these things online, so Ukraine doesn't go full like communications blackout. But recently there was a book published. I think it was like a biography about Elon, and the author touched on that and made it sound like at one point last year, I think, Ukraine had a couple of drones in the Black Sea, and they were going to do a sneak attack on the Russian Navy and try to sink a bunch of their boats like at port. This is an actual like purely offensive move, and Elon's already like, I don't want to escalate. I don't want to be a part of any escalation, and there's merit to that, but at the same time, what's a war if you're only defending? So I disagree with him on that. Myself, I don't think Putin is suicidal enough yet.
That's a lot of weight, though, too. I mean, like,
Yeah,
you
it's
say
a hard
that-
decision.
Yeah,
I'm not in the hot seat.
exactly. Yeah. Well, you put yourself in that hot seat.
So
That's got to be.
that's why all these
very
people
tough.
were like jumping down his throat about like how he's colluding with Russia.
Yeah.
Like, no,
Yeah, no,
man.
man.
He's not.
Yeah.
I don't agree with his take on how this is playing out because he's of the we should just stop the fighting now.
Sure.
You know, people are dying, and yeah, people are dying, but this isn't the kind of fight that you can just stop.
Yeah, this isn't the Cub Scouts. You know,
Yeah, like,
this fight does have
Ukraine would love
a
to
good guy
stop.
and a bad guy per se.
Yeah, it's if one side puts down their guns, they cease to exist. If the other side puts down their guns, then the fighting stops.
And in no war, no one can ever be innocent. I mean, there has to be. There's also like never an even playing ground, which also ensues that. You know, so like there's just by nature there's some of those things where it's like it's very difficult to take a stance.
Yeah,
because you know, and depending on which lens you're looking through, who knows if you're right or wrong. You know, and so like Elon in real time is trying to make a decision.
Hindsight right now, like because this was last year, hindsight now tells us that Russia wouldn't have done shit. So you know, but again, hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
At the time, no one really knew.
I know, dude.
But regardless, so this biography comes out, touches on that, and it makes it sound like Elon cut off StarLink coverage in that area specifically to stop Ukraine from being able to carry out the sneak attack. And Ukrainian officials called him up and were like, hey, can you turn this on? You know, can you turn on coverage in this area? And I think even the Department of Defense reached out.
Yeah.
But it's, and you know, he said no. He's like, I'm not going to be part of this escalation. Again, I disagree with that, but hindsight's 2020. At the time, we didn't know if Russia would lash out from something like that. It doesn't look like they would have.
Yeah.
Again, hindsight.
But yeah, man, that was a scary time if you think back. You know?
Yeah.
Like I was very worried. I remember like just
is this World War III?
Dude, a little side tangent. I was getting on a plane from Wisconsin coming back home and a couple of layovers, and I was like, I mean, you know, not that like Wisconsin or Chicago was going to be one of the target points. Maybe. Yeah, but that's kind of what I was thinking. It was like Chicago, if anything, you know, and then like, you know, Philadelphia could have been, you know, probably more like New York City, you know what I mean? But
DC.
But yeah, I was just you know, getting on a plane in general, who knows? You know, I just didn't know, and so like that was happening. I remember I woke up in my hotel on the day that I had to leave, and that was on the news, and I was like, "Oh shit." I'm like, no way this is happening now.
We're back in the 80s, Cold War.
I know.
Proxy wars.
Yeah, and I think like now that I'm a little bit older, a bit more mature, I think I am like
last year.
Well, easy. I'm just saying that what I'm saying is that since I've been older, not as of last year, I've just paid more attention, and like those things meant more to me.
Yeah,
you know?
it's hard to say. Is more stuff happening, or am I just paying more
I think
attention?
it's that I'm paying more attention, honestly. And
no, I think so.
Probably with that same respect, I think that I always had to like kind of remind myself that like you can't like just dwell on everything, and like some things are going to happen, you know, but to not pay attention just seems like
you're putting your head in the sand.
Yeah, there's no need to put blinders on, but you know, with a healthy respect and not let yourself get consumed and stuff. But speaking of which, let's get consumed. So the other thing I wanted to touch on though was
there's still more to the whole Ukraine thing that's going on.
Oh yeah, go ahead,
Elon. So yeah, the biography comes out. People are now, again, this happened last year, and it was a big stink back then, but now these more details have come out. People are once again people are calling for SpaceX and StarLink to be nationalized because it's too important for a private, you know, business to handle, and like that just sets a horrible precedent. I know we've done it before in times of war, but we're not in a world war right now. Like we don't need the government just taking people's businesses because it's important. Anyway, so there's two variations of what actually happened that have come out since then, and I have my thoughts on which one I believe. But, you know, version one is Elon catches wind that Ukraine's pulling a sneak attack, so he shuts off coverage in the Black Sea near, like, the Crimean Peninsula to stop this attack, to thwart this attack. And, you know, he's in collusion with Putin, and he's regurgitating Kremlin talking points and blah, blah, blah. The other variant of this story that has come out, and this is what Elon has said, was that he sent StarLink over there with certain conditions attached, and that it be used for communications and defense only. Again, he wants nothing to do with an escalation. Also, with the way StarLink works, the satellites go all around the world. So they're over everywhere. Theoretically, you have coverage anywhere on the planet. But you need licensing to operate in these countries. So what StarLink has to do is they have to go to every country and get permission to operate in their country. I think before the war started, they hadn't gotten permission to operate in Ukraine, which is why it was not up and running in Ukraine when the war kicked off. The Ukrainians reach out, ask for it. He opens up Ukraine and sends them the hardware to run StarLink. But it's geofenced to just Ukraine and just the parts of Ukraine that Ukraine currently controls. That does two things. One, it's harder to use for offense because you don't have the range. You can only go as far as like the router, basically the modem.
Yeah.
For the Wi-Fi connection.
Right.
And two, it doesn't let Russia use it because if you unlock it in Russian-controlled territory, then all they need to do is get their hands on a terminal, and now they can use it. And that also gives them like easier access to be able to hack it and a bunch of other things. So it was geo-fenced off, including the Crimean Peninsula, where they were trying to run these drones. And when Ukraine called out to them, like reached out to have them unlock it, it was to unlock that area. Not that he had locked it, but it was never unlocked to begin with, and they were requesting access to that, and to which he said no.
Yeah.
And the Department of Defense reached out, I think, to ask him also, like, hey, unlock this. And he said no. Now, normally that's kind of sketchy right there. Like, this is the government telling you to do something. But, again, this was before the Department of Defense was able to cut through all their own red tape and bureaucracy and write out an actual agreement and contract. Like, you look at Lockheed Martin or Boeing, and they don't dictate where, like, an F-35 or an F-15 can operate. But that's because they have a contract with the Department of Defense, and they have purchased these. They are now the property of the government.
Right.
Those StarLink terminals in Ukraine at the time were technically still property of SpaceX. They were donated.
Yeah.
So, technically, government doesn't have a say.
Right.
Now the government has an official, contract. They are purchasing and paying for the service to keep it up and running. Now they can dictate what gets done. So everyone who's like screaming at SpaceX and screaming at Elon that like, you can't do that. The government needs to take this. It's not the normal situation there. It'd be like if Boeing, which is a defense contractor and makes military planes, donated 737s to Ukraine.
Yeah.
And was like, you can use these for evacuation and supply runs. You're not using it as a bomber over Russia.
Yeah.
That's their civilian side. Like, they have the right to make those stipulations.
Yeah.
But they can't tell the Air Force that you can't use the what does Boeing make? Like the F-15 Strike Eagle.
Yeah.
To not ground attack, perform ground attacks on Russian air bases.
Yeah. And I feel like that's like the preferred method, Like, I don't, as much as I hate to say it, like, I don't think that, at least not yet, like, this isn't something that, like, in an emergency the government can just take control of. I hate that.
Yeah, again, they kind of did that in World War II, but that's a little bit of a different situation.
Yeah.
And I still don't really like it, but it was necessary.
Yeah, no, this is like gigantic, innovative tech that was created by someone else, and the government wants to just take it. And then
they do have a government branch, like, or they have a separate like service that's tailored for specifically this stuff. It's called Starshield.
Well, the only thing my thought on it is that they're not going to give it back. Right? Like, if I was Elon, there's a lot of things to worry about, and probably he has to assume that he knows he probably has a better, unbiased opinion than like the government does on how to use it and like whether or not to like use it here or there. But I would be really worried about like, hey, like we hand this over to the government, they use it now, and then they just keep telling us that, well, we just still need it. We just still need it. That's
why you have
there's
contracts.
still a threat. Yeah, I know.
That's why you have contracts 1 and 2. That's why they have now split.
But to your point, they didn't. That's why he was like, hey, no. Yeah.
This was still all under his jurisdiction directly.
Yeah. I just want to make sure like that was like kind of known, because like that's the huge difference is that like the contract part, like for some people that are listening, like the contract part, they're just like, I don't know, contracts are all the time, whatever. I don't know what that means, but like that means the government could have just run away with everything that they had, and like whatever they had handed over, if there's no contract there, they can just run away with it. And then they're like, we still need it. We still need it. And it's like, no.
You're gonna pay me for this. This is fucking expensive.
It's crazy. Yeah, so like I know you're going over it because there's a lot to go over, but I just wanted to go over that part because that's what stuck with me the most. Is that like why would they think that they could just do that? And I guess if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing was like Ukraine reached out and SpaceX had them on like a plane or on a boat, whatever, shipped off the next day. Like, there was no time to draft up a contract. This was like emergency shit hit the fan. Like, we need this or we're going down.
Mm-hmm.
So, SpaceX acted faster.
I think Ukraine's a little bit different than the United States government.
No, I'm talking about why the Department of Defense, who is, in charge of like the U.S.'s support for this conflict for Ukraine, wasn't involved in that transaction.
Oh, okay.
They just didn't have time.
Yeah.
Like, but then they drug their feet, like, because it was working.
Right.
Like, oh, well, Ukraine's good on this, and like, I don't know if they were drafting up a committee to draft up a proposal to draft up a contract or what.
Yeah.
But it literally took Elon bitching on Twitter about how like no one's paying for this.
Yeah.
Before I think like the UK stepped up and started paying for some, and then the Department of Defense finally drafted. I think it's actually officially under the Starshield service now, which is again their military like Department of Defense tailored service suite. I think it even includes like hardened terminals and all kinds of crazy shit. It's really expensive too, but it needs to be.
Yeah.
This is going into an active like combat environment. It needs to be hardened. Yeah. So I believe that's what it's operating under now. So now it can be used offensively if the Department of Defense deems it necessary.
Yeah, so like what's the contract though?
I don't know. I don't know the specifics of that. I'm not going to read that. I don't even know if we have access to it.
Well, I mean, I just didn't know if you looked into it because honestly, like, I mean, neither one of us are ever going to read that. I mean,
if I had to imagine, it's a contract for the service. It's a contract for a specified number of terminals, and to have replacements when they get damaged, shipped out,
and like the timing. I mean, is this a good thing for SpaceX?
Oh yeah, this is a shitload of money for them.
Well, yeah, I guess
it's a shitload of money, and now they have. Like, they don't bear the responsibility if there's an escalation because it's now it's the decision of the Department of Defense. It's the decision of the U.S. government. It's the decision of Ukraine.
Yeah.
Because now they're just like every other defense contractor. They are supplying the hardware.
Yeah.
And
I guess that makes sense because there's not really too many applications. I mean, obviously there is a like commercial application for this for sure, but I mean, aside from trying to run that like a business, like this is probably the next best thing, and it's just
this is actually probably more lucrative.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying because it's easy and it's guaranteed money.
Yeah, defense contractors.
So this is probably the way to go.
Yeah, I guess they work hard to get those contracts because they are lucrative.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, because at first I was almost thinking of this as like it was a bad thing and that like the government wouldn't give it back, but I'm sure Elon would love for them to just keep them, like, I'll keep supplying them to you. Yeah, like that's.
Yeah, they buy the terminals. That's a one-time payment, and then they just pay for the service.
Right. Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, I guess I see what you're saying. I like I said at first, I thought it was like going to be like a bad thing.
No,
like, this looks like
when they first started like actually getting the system up and running and proving that it worked.
Yeah.
Department of Defense immediately like ears perked,
salivating
over it. And SpaceX knew what they were doing. They were like, "You want this? You want this?"
Yeah.
And now that it's been in Ukraine and like actually has been battle tested and successful beyond belief.
So this was like the application. You think Elon was probably looking at this like?
No, there is definitely a huge market. There's a couple of markets.
That's what I'm saying. After. Like there is like a commercial market where like this could take over a lot of things.
There's
like,
a commercial market for everywhere that like last mile cable has not been laid. And when they cable companies lay out like fiber optic or lay out cable, it's the last like mile to a rural neighborhood or something that's like prohibitively expensive and just they drag their feet. It'll
Yeah.
be
My house was
forever.
like that. Believe it or not. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. I mean, they only had like a couple providers, so we had to run out, and they had to run Verizon to us.
Yeah. See.
Yeah.
So and now imagine you're in an even less like densely populated
Yeah.
area. Like
I don't think they had to
not
run
gonna-
very far.
They're not going
but
to want to
yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
So there's a big market for that.
Yeah.
The other big market is for like transatlantic business. We have internet cables that go, across the ocean, but there's latency there. And I forget the exact numbers, but with the laser interlinks that they're putting on the newer generation of StarLink satellites, there's actually less latency to use StarLink to do like transatlantic stock exchange and trading. And that will be like a
Huge.
multi-billion-dollar
Yeah.
industry a year. So
Yeah.
they were also going for that.
Yeah.
And then there's all the governmental side,
Yeah.
which it's a government contract. Like
Yeah.
they always pay more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
This
juicy.
this might be like Starlink. Maybe.
Oh yeah, that was the plan.
Yeah.
Like
Might be the money.
this is
them.
going to fund everything
Everything.
that we do.
Yeah,
We're going to eat the loss that it takes to put up a constellation of 40,000 satellites because it's going to pay for itself in no
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. And if the folks at home have not already heard of Starlink or know what Starlink is, there's a website you can go on and you can see all of the satellites, and it's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, just being able to like see where they're all going. Dude, some of them are fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's crazy. Like
Well, you got to do over 17,000 miles an hour just to stay in
yeah,
orbit.
but you see like some of them are kind of
Well,
staying,
and you
some
saw
of them kind of traveling.
you saw a Starlink train
Yes.
outside of your house.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what
How
I was
was
gonna
that?
say. Like, so that was awesome. So, and I'll just tell that story real quick, and we'll go back to Russia. But yeah, just having a bonfire, and I'm stoking the fire. Doing guy stuff, playing with the fire, and Holly ended up playing with Waylon on the ground, and like before you know it, she just like looked up and was like, "Holy shit, babe! Like,
What is that?
look up." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Look up." And I just looked up, and I just pulled my phone out real slow, and it was just like, and then but so it was just a line of 12 just dots, like dots that look like they're a little bit brighter than stars, just brighter, and you can definitely tell that they're closer too, and just in a perfect line, just going straight across the backyard.
Yeah, how
And
fast
was-
it looked like they were going? Like, was it easily visible how
Oh
they
yeah,
were moving?
yeah. It was so just by looking up, you could just see that you were like, oh shit, and like there they went. Like it was like you could follow it with your eye.
Yeah.
But like it was like a, But it was a really cool to see. And then after that, of course, with you being my best friend, I was like, as soon as I like got done filming, I was like, that's a Starlink train. I was like, Adrian has already told me about this. It's a Starlink train. I was like, we should look them up. And just that night at 7:25, they launched from, I believe,
Cape
Florida.
probably Cape
Yeah.
Canaveral.
Yeah,
If you saw
yeah.
it was definitely Cape Canaveral.
Yeah, I think it was, which was the Kennedy
Space Center.
Yes, Kennedy Space Center. So, and then of course they always film those things. So we didn't watch it live, but we got to watch it after, after it had already passed, and we were like, oh, we got to watch the whole thing.
You
And that's
watched
so much
Rocket
fun.
Land?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. So I mean, it's just a cool experience. We got to kind of see it and see that part. And we're like, all right, well, let's see how it that happened, But yeah, and then it had a trajectory of going right over top of us. So we're like, yep,
That was
it.
definitely
yeah.
it.
And they said they launched 12, and that's what we saw. So
Yeah, so if
pretty
they only
cool.
launched 12, that's definitely, and this wasn't that long ago, so it's definitely the version 2
Yeah,
mini satellites.
they
I
went
think,
pretty north. I think they went to pretty close to the poles.
yeah, and if you saw the train, they're already. Oh, why am I blanking on the word? They've been ejected from the second stage. There's no more
Yeah.
changing their trajectory. That's where they're going.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's wild stuff, man. And then you've said it a million times, and just how great and how cool it is, and how much innovation that is that's just being drummed up,
Yeah, we're-
on purpose, by accident, in the field training, just getting missions done, and all backed behind science and innovation and the drive behind what Elon's doing with SpaceX.
Yeah,
and his
SpaceX
team,
is,
of course, but his team. But I mean, it's such a cool thing, man. It's a wild time to be alive.
Yeah,
It's
just
crazy.
as an example, SpaceX's probably biggest competitor here in the U.S. would be ULA.
Mm-hmm.
They launched just this morning, I think, actually. So that's their second launch for this year.
Oh yeah.
SpaceX has already launched, I think, 2 more launches in the entirety of last year. They're at like 62 or 63 this year.
So their next competitor behind them is
Well,
at
in the
two-
U.S.
is 2 to beat. Well, yeah, the U.S.
Their second biggest competitor is the entire country of China.
Which isn't fair because their regulations are like a multiple choice questionnaire for their regulations before they
just
launch
drop a
rocket.
booster on a rural mountain village.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't breathe the orange smoke.
Yeah, I think what SpaceX is able to do in like the amount of time that they've done it is amazing. You know?
It's unheard of.
It is, and
It's unprecedented,
I think
actually.
this is probably the first time it's ever been done this way, though. Like you get like a trillionaire, and then
Well, he's not a
Let 'em
trillionaire
make-
yet.
well, you get a really really rich guy, and you get him to make space rockets.
Well, no, we do have a second example of that. We've got Jeff Bezos,
Yeah,
and we've got Blue Origin.
yeah.
They've launched.
So it takes the right rich guy.
Yeah, they
Fair.
They've done like fucking nothing.
Yeah.
They've got New Shepard, which is an amusement park ride for rich people, and that's only launched like how many times now? Like 18 total.
Mm.
And the last one, it kind of suffered an anomaly and had to use the launch escape system. Luckily, it was an unmanned flight. They only had like science payloads on it, no people. But they haven't flown since then, and they have not gotten anything into orbit. And they opened two or 3 years before SpaceX.
Getting it done.
They are supplying rocket engines to ULA, though, for their new Vulcan rocket. But that was beset with delays, and I think the 2 engines that they sent to ULA, I forget if they had another issue. I know that one of the engines had an issue, had to go back to the factory and get refurbished, or get, like, fixed.
It wasn't right.
Yeah. I think ULA has them now, and they're working on the second stage, because then ULA had an issue with their second stage.
Yeah.
Like one of the test tanks exploded, and they realized they needed to reinforce it more, so they had to just beef up that tank, and they're doing that right now.
Yeah.
But that rocket might actually fly end of this year, early next year.
Yeah, and albeit obviously this is literally rocket science.
Yeah, it's not easy.
This is rocket science.
The fact that SpaceX makes it look so easy is an anomaly.
Yeah. So like no, I mean it's hardly a bash against anyone. Everyone's probably doing their best, you know. It's just that SpaceX has just been this good.
SpaceX has adopted the software approach of fail fast, fail hard, or fail cheap, and fail forward.
Yeah.
So, traditionally, every other rocket manufacturer and launch provider will spend billions of dollars trying to simulate every little thing, and then they'll nail it usually first try.
Yeah.
Like NASA just did that with our moon rocket, the SLS. Plagued with delays, plagued with budget overruns, plagued with issues when they tried to launch it. But they finally got it right, and it was perfect. But it also was like 5-6 years behind and $10-20 billion over budget. And I think NASA even did a study on like the Falcon 9 rocket, and they're like, yeah, if we wanted to build a rocket ourselves with that capability and reusability, it would probably have cost us like $5 billion, and then that
20
budget probably
years.
would have ballooned and all
over
that.
the 20 years it took to actually make
And
it.
SpaceX, I think, spent less than $1 billion on the development of the Falcon 9.
Yeah. Nice. Dude.
And it's now the single most reliable,
They're the
prolific
best.
launch.
SpaceX is the best, and they're just getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, there's still people who think it's a vaporware company, and I'm baffled by the mental gymnastics required for that.
Well, Adrian, it is difficult to understand for most people. So
it's not about the rocket science. How can you say that they're full of fake promises when they are the most successful rocket company in the world?
if you
Same
don't,
thing with Tesla.
well, if you don't have someone as as versed and as intelligent as you to relay the information, it can be difficult
You
to
don't
interpret.
need to be intelligent to see that they're launching like twice a week, and no one else is doing that.
And dumb people can look at how that's a bad thing.
That's what I'm saying. I am flabbergasted.
Yeah. That's why you're here. This is your purpose.
Anyway, didn't you have something that you wanted to bring up about what's going on with Russia?
Oh yeah. I mean, the Wagner Group leader.
Oh.
Please, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Did he die or did he not die? I mean,
They
did
found
he
a
die?
finger.
They found a finger.
Or they found like a hand missing a finger or something.
Yeah. I mean, the old bait and switch, but I do think he really died.
Oh yeah, you don't cross Putin like that and live to tell the story.
Yeah. Yeah, so we talked about this, I think, like one of our first episodes, I think. Not that we have that many.
Oh yeah, that
going
was
for
the
us,
coup
but-
had started, but it hadn't ended. And we were kind
Yeah.
of speculating where it could go.
Yeah. To be honest, we were kind of shitting ourselves because we didn't know what was going to
Also,
happen.
I'm not even sure if that ever made it to the to be published.
What?
The episode you're talking about.
I think it did. I'm pretty sure
sure?
it did. I'm pretty sure it did. But if anyone is just tuning in now and they hadn't listened to that episode yet, we could just do like a brief like run over of that and then reveal the great news.
Yeah, so Wagner's Russia's, or it's a PMC, a private military contractor.
Mercenaries.
So yeah, mercenaries.
Yeah.
And
Assassins.
They are
killers.
tightly integrated. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
They are tightly integrated with the Russian, the actual like Russian military.
Yeah.
But because they're technically a PMC and they're technically independent, they give Russia plausible deniability.
Yeah.
So if they commit atrocities and war crimes, Russia can go.
An air
Wasn't
gap,
us.
if you will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't us.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that we don't engage in that kind of tomfoolery. I mean, we have what's it called? It's black something. Blackwater.
Mm.
Yeah, we have PMCs here in the U.S. too.
Yeah.
I don't know what they get up to, but they're not in the spotlight right now. So
Yeah.
But yeah. So because of how Russia's like autocracy is set up, you can't really have, like, if you're Putin, you can't have anyone else be too competent
Working
So,
for you.
yeah, because
Yeah.
then they become a threat.
Mm-hmm.
So you encourage a lot of infighting,
Mm-hmm.
and anyone who does become too competent, you just, wow, they fell out of a window. Who'd have thought?
He had a heart attack at 40.
Yeah. He had some tea, and now he's radioactive. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. He's gone now.
But
Don't worry about him.
Yeah, so you encourage a lot of infighting. So there's always been a bit of a rivalry between like the actual Russian military, the Ministry of Defense, and Wagner. Keep the two leaders of those two factions at odds with each other so they can't overthrow you.
Yeah.
But in Ukraine, Russia had been basically neglecting Wagner while Wagner was doing the heavy lifting. All of a lot of the progress that Russia had made was thanks to Wagner, because they are actually competent. There's corruption there for sure, but they're paid to be soldiers. So, they're not getting the supplies they need. There was even an instance of the Russian military accidentally maybe firing like artillery on a Wagner base camp.
Yeah.
And eventually Yevgeny Prigozhin.
Yeah.
I've butchered that, but
Yeah.
that's as close as I'm
Prigozhin.
going to get.
Yeah.
He's the head of Wagner. He got fed up, for like a week leading up to the coup. He's saying like, Putin's been lied to, given bad information. This war was pointless, and this is we're not going to get stepped on anymore with this crap. And then eventually he turned his troops around and marched on Moscow.
Yeah.
They made it most of the way there before some kind of peace agreement was brokered by the president, if you want to call him that, of Belarus. And basically it broke down to if you were in Wagner, you could either go to Belarus or you could be absorbed into the Russian military. And Prigozhin was supposed to go to Belarus as well. But
Of course, like being kind of banished now from Russia and
Yeah.
going to go play in Puppet Russia.
yeah, and Russia Light. But
Russia Light.
yeah,
There's
apparently
Russia
he
Heavy
was,
and then Russia Light.
apparently he was.
Pick your brew.
I think he was flying out of Moscow.
Yeah, I think so.
And his plane went down, and I don't know if it was ever confirmed, but I think it was shot down
Yeah.
by like a missile.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't march on Moscow and expect to survive.
Yeah.
I don't think he expected to survive.
Yeah.
either.
So there was no survivors on that plane. They all died, and he was on the manifesto, and then they found a finger to kind of prove.
Or they found his hand that was missing a
Yeah.
finger that he was known to be missing, something like that. Russia has confirmed, for
That
as much
he's
as you can
dead.
take their word, that he is dead.
Yeah.
Now, I did see an article, although it was kind of outdated by the time I stumbled across it, and I haven't heard anything recent, that Wagner's not happy, like the rest of Wagner.
Oh, I'm sure.
So we're gonna get Russian Coup 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Oh, I think so, man. And so like the first thing that I saw that Putin had put out, who knows if propaganda, I don't know, but he said that his opening statement was
He's
that
made many
Prigozhin,
mistakes or something like
yeah,
that.
Prigozhin had made many mistakes in his life. Was the only thing he really had to say about his death.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, so you're not saying you did it, but you're really not saying you didn't.
But you're
do it.
not saying you're sorry it
Yeah,
happened.
you're not saying you didn't deserve it. So it's so crazy. Yeah, so like, I mean, the fact that those Wagner guys must have hated the government, Russia, the military troops.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that they've hated each other so much, and then like this peace treaty sounded like bullshit.
Yeah.
This sounded like it was a brash. It was like they quickly realized they were overpowered
I have
and got
to-
humbled, is what probably
Well,
happened.
no, they weren't overpowered.
I don't know, dude.
They
I mean,
made
why
it
would they?
so far with minimal resistance.
Why would they stop
They
then?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I don't know
Yeah.
why Prigozhin would have stopped if he basically knew that like this wasn't gonna end well. I have to imagine they got like his family or something.
Oh shit! And then he called it off, which
Yeah.
is why all the guys from Wagner are pissed because they're like, we could have taken him. And he's like, no, we're not doing it. And
Yeah.
they're like, why? And they're like,
Because they
"Shut
made
up."
it far and in just like a matter of days.
Yeah.
And they were like knocking on Moscow's door. Like
Yeah.
Putin evacuated Moscow.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something happened there.
Yeah.
Because unless Prigozhin's like way dumber than I thought, and he thought this peace treaty thing
Worked in
was,
his
like,
favor.
legit,
Yeah.
or he thought he was getting some good out of it, but
Yeah.
like you don't cross
Yeah.
Putin himself and expect to live.
Yeah.
You can leave the country and some Russian like sleeper agent's gonna find a way to slip Novichok in your
Yeah.
coffee.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if he was successful, like there's no shot that he's gonna end up taking Putin out. So he would know. He would have to assume that he's gonna.
I don't think he would necessarily. If he like again, I personally
I think
think
he-
they got like his family or something. I don't
Yeah.
know, but you don't necessarily need to take Putin out. You can take over. Like,
Or want to. That's what I'm saying. I think he was.
well, he didn't. I don't think he wanted to.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't want to. I think what he wanted to do was like earn his trust or like show his worth.
Yeah,
and be
he
like,
wanted to take. I forget the guy's name, but the head of the Ministry of Defense's position. He
Yeah.
wanted to be the head of Russia's
Yeah.
official military.
Yeah, he was headed there to take out
the military.
the military that Putin had and be
But
like, look,
I don't think
we're
Putin-
your real military.
I don't think Putin trusts
It didn't
him.
proceed
And
the same
again,
way.
you get too competent.
Yeah, yeah.
You
yeah,
become
yeah.
a threat.
Yeah, of course. Oh,
Yeah.
that too. Yeah, and like maybe like I'm sure Putin probably saw was like, yeah, you're way better than my guys, so you have to go.
Yeah. I can't control you anymore.
Yeah,
That's a problem.
Yeah, this is a problem.
I don't care if you want to be under my control. The fact that I can't control you.
Yeah.
If you ever change your mind,
Yeah,
This ain't gonna work.
Yeah, yeah, that sucks. Yeah, because he might have had a good gig. You know, he didn't seem like he was very young. You know, he probably had a few years left where he could have just wrote out this good gig.
I don't know about that. He was getting shelled by his own people, apparently.
I mean, when we're just saying that like his people are pretty pissed that he's gone now.
No, not his people. The Russian military was maybe not accidentally shelling Wagner encampments
yeah.
in Ukraine.
Yeah. I got
That
you.
doesn't sound like a good gig to me. You're getting shot from both sides.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
While also not getting ammo that you need.
yeah. Yeah, maybe he would have died anyways. That's a fair point, because maybe like the objective, maybe, and I didn't pay close enough attention to like the play-by-play, which I don't think anyone can. There's no way that any of us can really know exactly what happened out there in Russia. Like, so much propaganda, so much like interpretation.
The fog
happens.
of war makes the truth very hard to find,
Yeah.
because
But even,
no one's honest in war.
But even if like there isn't, propaganda or like someone taking a side or someone just trying to bend the truth or just leave parts out, you never know. But like maybe this guy he'd already accomplished the goal that they wanted. Like Putin had already had him accomplish a goal that he wanted, and like he was trying to get him out. That's why we're having these attacks, and like maybe he had his guys kind of turn on him, and then before you know it, it boiled over.
I don't think that.
I might be stretching it, but
no, especially because Putin's goal in Ukraine is to take over Ukraine, and they were nowhere near that.
yeah.
So I don't think there's any way that he was trying to get Prigozhin.
Did they keep all the Wagner guys?
I believe so, but right now they seem like they're probably feeling a little less than cooperative.
Yeah. Well, that's my point. I just don't really feel like the Wagner people have been.
And even if they are angry and they want revenge for them taking out Prigozhin, I don't know if they're going to be able to organize. Like, I don't know what their command structure is and how damaged they are that their head has been cut off. And now on top of that, I don't know who else was on that plane, because it was, I think, 10 people, and 3 were crew, and I think the rest were Wagner personnel.
Yeah.
So if that was like the head of the snake,
oh shit, that's actually, yeah.
I don't know that though. I have to look into that.
Yeah, we should have looked that up. Whoops.
I didn't even think we were going to talk about this, but we did.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, it's been so long. I mean, this is almost old news now. I wanted to kind of like bring it up at least if anyone hadn't heard. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, either way, it's wild. Whatever conclusion you want to draw or story you want to put behind it, I mean, we'll never know. So it's history now. Poor guy.
Yeah. Poor guy. Dude, that guy committed so many war crimes.
Hey, I mean, he's a soul. He's a soul. Maybe he could have changed. You never know. Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know. But the war in Ukraine is just proving to just upend everything that we thought we knew about modern warfare. Although, yeah, that could just be because Ukraine's not as well outfitted as the rest of the world, and Russia is not as well outfitted as everyone thought they were. Because it has evolved into trench warfare.
Yeah.
We're back in World War I.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we don't have to get into... I think... No, we definitely did have this podcast, whether or not it got out or not. I mean, we know that, the war, this especially, was particularly just gruesome and just demoralizing, for sure.
It's World War I again.
Yeah, it's bad. But, that being said, I feel like... Nah, I don't think he gets a pass. Never mind. I don't think he gets a pass. This Wagner guy.
No.
Prigozhin, I don't think he gets a pass.
And that doesn't even touch on the shit he's done.
I was going to try to say
outside of
because maybe
just this war.
Some of these things don't pass through him, but I feel like he's that guy.
No, he is the top of Wagner.
Guy.
Yeah.
All right.
He doesn't get a pass.
So long,
shit.
pal. Fuck that guy.
No, just he was a useful pawn to root for.
Yeah.
When he was possibly going to upset.
Yeah, a useful pawn.
The the politics in Russia enough to maybe bring this war to an end.
A well-placed pawn.
Because if he had succeeded in taking over Moscow, Russia would have to withdraw their troops out of Ukraine to fix that problem at home. So, that would have been nice. But he is not a good guy. Wagner is not good people. Although,
what is Wagner now? I don't think it's nothing.
I don't even know if they're still around.
Yeah, it probably can't be.
Yeah,
especially considering that they took all their other troops and spread them out between Russia and Belarus.
Well, the ones in Belarus are still operating.
I wonder if they peppered them in.
I think.
Well,
I think the idea
small rats in with big rats.
I think they were trying to integrate them into the general military, because these are competent soldiers, and a lot of the conscripts in Russia's general military received like next to no training.
Yeah.
Because they're just like pulling people out of prisons and pulling them off the streets and throwing them into a uniform and throwing them over to Ukraine.
Yikes.
Here's a Mosin Nagant we pulled that out of a warehouse. It's been sitting here since World War II. It probably works.
See if it fires. Well, I guess kind of close to Russia. We can talk about. There's a couple like little things I want to talk about. You heard of the Kuwait tire burning?
Yeah, I saw I just saw
It's
like
an overseas topic.
like a Facebook reel or something about
Yeah.
it. But they're just burning them away.
Yeah, dude, and like to the tune of like a couple billion tires.
Yeah.
Like it's miles of tires that are just burning all at once. And they're just letting all that pollution go. And there's just no one there to stop them.
Why are they burning them? Do we know?
They don't have anything else to do with them. And now personally I would say like just leave them, but I think now it's overspilling because like it doesn't where they were like leaving these tires isn't that far from the town, like the city, you know. So I think like they're kind of seeing like, hey, like this is gonna be a problem. We have too many tires. There's too much, and you know they need to use that land or like just restore it as like a landfill. I mean, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, it's a serious amount of pollution, and it's crazy. So,
Speaking
I mean,
of,
just to see that black smoke,
yeah,
like, coming out of the sand, it's crazy, dude.
Speaking of pollution, something that that just reminded me of is you know, the whole carbon footprint thing, and like how there's constant pushes that like we need to have greener cars, and you know, like individually we need to reduce, reuse, recycle, and all that stuff to help save the planet. Fun fact, the idea of an individual carbon footprint was thought up by an oil company. I forget if it was like Exxon or BP or something, one of the big oil companies, just to get the eyes and the spotlight off of them. So this whole and perfect examples like when you have Hollywood preaching to everyone about like doing their part while flying in their private jets.
Yeah.
One private jet flight from like LA to, God, I wish I could remember the exact scenario I just read. It was like LA.
But it's like
something.
LA to Houston.
Is
it's not far, or
like 4 years
yeah
worth of driving.
I think I know this too. Yeah.
So, truth be told, like with the emissions controls we have now on cars, we don't have to do shit.
Yeah.
You know, this whole idea that we normal people need to like take responsibility for our carbon footprint and, you know, obviously don't litter, don't pollute like when you can. That's just a kind of a dick move.
Yeah.
But like the whole like guilting us into like we can't even have bags. You know, at a grocery store now.
Bags, the straws.
It's like, why are you coming after me?
Yeah.
You know, the population that utilizes private jets does more damage than I will ever do in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And these paper straws and plastic bags and all, you know, all this plastic pollution that we're super hyper worried about.
Yeah.
Like 90% of the ocean plastic comes from like 10 rivers and like from China and India and like that part of the world.
Yeah.
So like what does all this sacrifice? Why does my straw, which is now found to leach cancer-causing chemicals into your drink, by the way,
Yes.
and is less recyclable
Dyes
than plastic
and the
straws,
cardboard and the wax that they're using
like
on the
why do I
cardboard
need to
straws.
suffer my straw falling apart in my drink? What does that help?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, that's actually a good point too, because I don't get the whole straw thing. I don't like straws. I don't use straws.
Oh no, like,
and I don't get
when it comes to fast food, I
don't even
use
eat fast. You
straws.
shouldn't eat fast food, Adrian. But I mean, I just don't find myself really using straws.
I do.
And like, there's a few like companies like.
But I also throw my straw away. I don't throw it into the ocean.
You don't? That's what I've been
I
taking.
do throw my
I've
car
been
batteries into the
personally
ocean.
driving my straws 2.5 hours to the ocean.
No, you don't have
Should
to go
I
to the
stop?
ocean. Just go to a river. It'll run into the ocean.
Yeah.
No, I only throw my car batteries in the ocean.
Yeah, and tires. Yeah.
No, I burn those.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That doesn't call the fire department here
You
to
gotta
your
throw
apartment
your car
complex.
batteries into the ocean. It's a safe and legal through and recharges the electric eels.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like the whole idea, just like that we individually need to like be hyper vigilant and hyper aware of like our carbon footprint and all that. It's all bullshit.
Yeah, I think we already are. Like we are doing that. I think that there's people that are taking the hyper approach to it, that are like finding new ways that could help. And I think in most cases, like you're saying with this straw thing, there's a lot of things where like they're trying really hard to fix something that's not really broken. You know, like because
Yeah, I
like,
just had
is there a pollution problem? Like you're saying, like yes, there is. Like, is it my car? I don't think so. I think it's other stuff.
no, and in
like
fact,
you're
because
saying.
like
It's
let's take my Buick for an example, highly inefficient, from the '60s, no emissions controls. Me keeping that on the road is a much smaller pollution or carbon footprint than buying a new car, even with how dirty it runs.
but because of the process that it takes to make that car.
To make a new car,
Yeah.
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 So, even if I drive my no catalytic converter, just spewing pollutants right out the
Yeah.
tailpipe, it still does less damage to the earth
Yeah.
because it's existed and has provided transportation for
Yeah.
50 plus years.
Yeah.
But
the same thing with there's also a lot of electric cars that are, plugging into their house that's powered by a coal plant.
yeah,
So I mean there's a lot of shit
did
like
we
that.
talk about that previously? You need to an electric car to offset its carbon footprint and have a smaller carbon footprint than a traditional gas car needs to have at least like 69,000 miles put on it.
Yeah. So like
we talk about that
go in
already?
depth on that. We haven't talked about it yet. Go in depth on that.
Okay.
Just like a full explanation for someone who has no idea.
So, you look at the carbon footprint of a vehicle over its lifetime. That includes like the pollution it generates and blah 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 blah. So with an electric car, even on a non-green electricity grid, just by pure efficiency, to have a smaller carbon footprint than a traditional gasoline car, you need to keep it on the road and drive it for at least 60,000 miles or 69,000 miles. After that point, the pollution caused like by charging it and caused by like creating the battery and producing the car will now be less than the pollution required to build and operate a gasoline car.
And so if I can piggyback, so if you think about it, like for those who are listening, if you can think about that in the timeline, the amount of pollution on that timeline at the very beginning, that like very, very first second to, I don't know how long a car, like that first year of that car being made is such high pollution that all of you not polluting at all for all like 69,000 miles, which is probably equivalent to like 5 years
If
of
not
you
more.
not polluting with that car, that same car,
Yeah.
then that equals out.
Yes.
So
So,
the pollution that's created from making that car is
Is-
equivalent to 5 years of pollution with a regular car. To
Yes.
put that in another perspective.
Yeah. It damages the environment that much more to
Yeah.
create an electric car than it does to create a traditional
Yeah.
like, gasoline car.
Yeah, so if you really want to be super efficient and like super environmentally green, go buy an old, already made. Don't buy a brand new electric car. Go buy an old one.
Yeah.
No one buys.
Once they
new
get over
electric
70,000 miles, then
cars.
you can
go buy old ones. Do not support anyone making electric cars.
For anyone who is like genuinely concerned about being as green as possible, just keep your car on the road.
Yeah, that too.
Or buy an old
I mean,
one.
but if you drive a lot, then that kind of outweighs that. But the majority of the people don't drive that much.
No.
Even if you don't live in a city, like even if you live in
Yeah.
like somewhere where you have to drive a little bit to get where you're going.
So even if your
20
car is
minute
like,
drives.
if you don't drive much, but your car's kind of old, kind of tired, it's kind of nickel and diming you a little bit, but you're super concerned about the environment, just fix the car.
Yeah, if you don't drive much. Yeah. If you're somebody that drives your car and like not like oh yeah, I just drive to and from work. That's a lot. That's not a lot.
No,
Like,
we drive a lot.
Yeah. So like us having electric vans would be that would be a good
Yeah, we would be able to
footprint.
hit that target
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Well, not
Yeah, so
not
I mean,
super
like, if
quickly,
you're doing 100 miles a day, then yeah, maybe it's time to switch to an electric car. But like if you're not, if you're just
but
kind of
again, that's if you're
around,
concerned about the environment. If you just want an electric car because it's neat,
yeah,
then by all means, and
Or
you
it's woke.
you can charge at home, and now you never have to set foot in a gas station again.
Yeah.
By all means, I'm not
Yeah.
going to dictate that. But
Yeah.
for people who are genuinely concerned about the environment, you better hold on to that thing.
yeah. Well, hey, speaking of, I mean, we're just transitioning right in through the LK99 superconductor.
Yeah, such a shame.
What a flop. I mean, our last podcast, we talked about the electrical grid, all the issues, and like maybe nuclear energy being a substance or like a substitute
yeah.
for like what we have now, and just doing them small and just kind of like making more of them. But the infrastructure was the issue with that. The amount that it would take, the cost that it would take to build those, and it just probably wouldn't work. And what we're going to do is just probably overstress the grid until it becomes a problem, and
then we'll worry
about it.
That's
so
how we do.
Until
things.
then, we're just pumping out electric cars and hoping people switch.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you brought up a couple things on that last podcast too about like if you don't have a home and you don't have the ability to charge that vehicle at your house, like what do you do? There's a lot of complications to making that switch in the first place. But the big one is that transfer of energy, that loss in energy, and that's where these superconductors come in. So you want to talk about the newest flop,
LK99. I don't know. Did we ever talk about LK99?
No.
So,
not even the first time.
Theoretically, what it was supposed to be was a potential room temperature and ambient pressure superconductor. So a superconductor is a substance that can conduct electricity with basically zero resistance. And we have superconductors, but they either need to be...
But people probably don't understand that the electrical power that's going to their houses right now has resistance.
Yeah.
And that's that's why these...
Everything has
room
resistance.
temperature... Yeah, but for people who don't understand electricity...
Well, I'm saying that for them. Every conductor,
Yeah.
you think a wire doesn't have... Everything has resistance.
Yeah, so the power that's coming to your house, if you think of it like water, like there has to be a pressure, and the farther that electricity is going, the higher that pressure has to be, and that means the more energy that we have to produce in that electrical
there
plant.
are losses.
Yeah, so like it's losing all of that
like
electricity.
the high tension power wires and all that, like everything.
Yeah,
There's
so for you to get the
losses.
right electricity at your house, if it's really far away from the
gotta
electrical
pump it.
plant, they got to really pump it up.
Yeah,
and it
we've
could
got
be more
substations
expensive.
to boost it and all that, but like still,
Yeah,
there's still
yeah,
losses in
sure.
between.
I mean, but just for the explanation
Yeah.
for like why these superconductors would be so innovate. I mean, they would change the world.
Yeah. So we have superconductors, but
these room temperature ones that
a regular superconductor, the ones that we know and can make, they either need to be frozen down to like cryogenic temperatures,
like negative almost 600 degrees.
yeah, or they need to be under pressure.
Yeah, which inadvertently kind of does the same thing.
Well, that heats it up usually.
Yeah.
Is it under pressure? They have to be in a vacuum. They're not at room pressure, like ambient pressure. It's more work, and they got to be enclosed in a pressure.
We're
sealing
manipulating
vessel.
their temperature because they get really hot.
Yeah. So this was supposed to be room temperature, room pressure. It was supposed to be like a substance that could just sit out in the open, not be an issue, and conduct electricity with like zero resistance. And I didn't actually read into what they ended up officially finding out about the substance, but I think it was a lab in South Korea had claimed that they created this superconductor that worked at room temperature. They didn't test it with electricity, they tested it with magnetism. I don't know all the physics behind it, but one of the things that is a telltale that you have a superconductor is that it will levitate on a magnet regardless of like what pole it's on. It's north and south poles of a magnet.
Mm-hmm.
Usually you need a north pole and a north pole to repel, or a south pole and a south pole to repel. A superconductor,
Like a magnet.
A superconductor on this magnet will float no matter
Right.
what pole it's on. And this substance appeared to be doing that. So that there's a whole lot of hype about it. They published a paper on how
and
to
like real quick,
create
just
it.
like for the folks at home that are like really keeping up with this, that's like taking a piece of metal to a magnet and it doesn't stick to either side. It'll just float on each side, but it's still conductive. It's still a piece of metal, right?
Yeah,
like
so
that's the huge
normally
thing.
to make something float on a magnet, you'd have to have north to north and south to south.
Yeah.
So if you have a magnet sitting on the ground, you have like another magnet, it might float if you hold it one way, you turn another way, it sticks.
Yeah.
This
is like also a conductive piece of material that should stick to a magnet, but it doesn't do.
Yeah, there's some weird interaction with the magnetic field that just makes it levitate.
Yeah.
So, this material was proving to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it was
doing. Yeah, at least what they said. I think like from what I know of it is that they just couldn't prove it.
Well, no, a couple labs were able to replicate that using their process. And like I said, I should have read into it, but it's not a superconductor. It's something else.
Yeah.
Probably not even useful. But
from what I've heard is that whatever the lab had put out seemed really credible. Like it had popped in the industry, but when multiple labs had actually put it to the test as like a peer-reviewed study, they couldn't recreate what they were saying.
No, a couple labs did recreate the substance and got them to levitate on magnets, but it's some other property that's not.
The superconductor is what they like. Yeah, they're like, it does this.
I don't think they
but
ever actually tested the conductivity of it.
Right.
But they had this one property that's inherent to superconductors, and that's why everyone was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, but it's just not conductive.
But it's not a superconductor.
Yeah, like they said it was. Yeah. So and what that would have been able to do is, if we do come up with one of those room temperature, ambient pressure. Superconductors, what that would do would be minimizing or absolute zero resistance to whatever power source is coming from that plant. So the resistance that it would take to give electricity to all of the homes and everyone's homes that they're watching this in, there would be no resistance, which means that it would significantly underload the plant, which would leave room to reload the grid with electric cars.
Do you remember what
We'd be replacing the resistance in
the we lose 100 million watts or 100 million megawatts of power or something
it's a lot. It's a lot of loss.
I don't know the exact number, but it's a lot. But that would just it would just give us a lot more just free energy, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
That we would normally be losing.
Yeah.
The other thing that superconductors are used in is quantum computers, which is a whole I don't even understand how those frickin' work.
I know.
That's something else, but they're necessary in quantum computing, and so right now, quantum computers are the size of a room because they need all this cryogenic cooling equipment for the superconductors in the computer. Yeah. But quantum computers have exponentially more computing power than a regular computer. That's how we get actual AI, and we have simulation programs that can design and create all kinds of crazy shit that we just can't model and simulate with regular computers. Yeah. And that would be absolutely revolutionary. It'd just be an absolute game changer in the computing
the innovation
space
of those. Now they can make them smaller. Yeah, make them better. Not have to worry about temperature as much.
Yeah, if we
really
had
stretch the capacity of them.
That's the other thing. We could have even traditional non-quantum computers that just don't have heat issues, so we can run a shitload of power into them and make those significantly more powerful. Yeah. But
no more hot Bluetooth chargers.
Yeah, and I had kind of looked into it a little bit, but that was a month ago now, and I've forgotten. But we use superconductors in our fusion generators that we're trying to figure out how to work. So that could have been a missing piece that we need to make fusion generators to generate power. Yeah. And that would be game changing just in and of itself. Completely pollution free, abundant, very easy power. Yeah. Because hydrogen is literally the most common element in the universe, and that's what you fuse in a fusion reactor to create energy, and that would also solve the helium problem, I'd imagine, since we are running out of helium. Yeah. That's fun. Yeah. Because when you fuse hydrogen together, it makes helium. Mm-hmm. But Wasn't meant to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's they're I guess they're close. I mean, I know there's been a lot of superconductors in the past that have made the same claims. So a lot of these people that are like continuously like testing these in a lab, testing all these theories. Like at least the papers that I had read about it, just to kind of like verse myself a little bit, they were like, we kind of see this. A lot of people, like, especially like the one person had cited the people who had made this LK99 claim of this superconductor. They said that they were like almost like ridiculously unprofessional or like inexperienced, So like they kind of like had this idea that like these guys are just like young, like yeah, they did figure some stuff out, but they probably shot too quick. Yeah. And like they might be onto something.
Well, supposedly there was like 2 papers. There was the initial paper, and then there was a second one that was much more like professional. And, like,
yeah.
But still, it didn't pan out.
Yeah,
it's not a superconductor.
But dude, it might. And if it does, like you said, I mean, like all of those things, like I don't like, and if that like really hits anybody like at home, but like all of the innovation that would create that like most people don't even know about would be insane.
If we ever figure out
seriously,
if we ever figure out a room temperature, ambient pressure superconductor, that advances our tech by like decades, right?
Yeah, crazy. And like, but the first big thing that I think everyone listening to this can relate to would just be the fact that like energy costs would be down. The possibility of having an electric car in every home would be a real, like an actual possibility.
Charging a battery would be nothing.
Yeah, because I mean, even if you're just charging up at work every day and like that's how you're doing it, you're like 8 hours at work and like you're in the parking lot, like that's still energy. Like that's crazy. Like even if it's in like
I'm pretty sure with like
hours,
these superconductors, like you could charge your battery in like a minute instead of like 15, 20 or like.
That's true too. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. I totally forgot about that part as well. Is that like the speed of it? So we would almost have like gas station pace. Like maybe not perfect, but like pretty
damn close.
Yeah, but pretty close. Yeah. So we would have like because we always worried about that too, with like gas stations back up. Like I mean, there's just like a process to it, and if there's a lot of people, busy highway, they back up, especially turnpikes.
So 15-minute charge. Oh my god.
Yeah, 15-minute charge. You're fucked. And I mean, do you think 15 minutes?
That's good for like 80%.
Yeah, it gets you
off
the highway.
But that's if the chargers are running at full speed. If they're packed, if they're slammed, they slow down.
Shit.
So half an hour to get to 80%.
Yeah, man. Like for me, that's like it's kind of scary. I know that they have like, especially the Teslas have apps that show you where they're.
I mean, it works now because they're not the majority.
Right.
So when you're in your electric car and you're on a road trip, you run out of, or you get to the point where you need to charge. I was gonna stretch, walk around, maybe grab a bite to eat anyway. Yeah, that's fine. But when you show up and there's now a line of like 30 people just trying to get to work.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah, and you're in line waiting for them. Yeah. So, like, if you're the 4th person in line...
2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. That's so crazy. What a time to be alive, though, man. I mean, this is
we're starting to see hints of the future that we were promised.
Yeah.
We're getting
Jetsons, man.
Flying cars are never going to happen.
I know. No, we can barely handle them on the road. I think we hit. So, I mean, I feel like.
How long did you want to go?
Well, I think we're like right there. Probably like an hour and a half. If I stretch this. So.
We got a quick 10-minute topic. What do you want to talk about?
Well, what do you know about the Pegasus spyware?
Absolutely nothing.
Fuck. Okay, we'll do another one later. Cool tech. The Wi-Fi camera.
See, that kind of skews me out, but at the same time, I also don't know how, what is it using to generate that?
It's using the radiation waves from the Wi-Fi router.
Is it reading it?
Yes.
With what? What part of the Wi-Fi router is it using to read?
Well, I mean, I'm no genius. Yeah, I read one quick article, and then but you talked to me about this that that Wi-Fi does actually generate a small amount of radiation, but so does like our phones. So does all of a microwave,
it's all
radio.
It's all various forms of like radiation, or whatever you want to call it. what I don't understand about that, it's something that I guess we need to research if we want to actually go in depth on it.
Yeah. Well, we have 10 minutes. But it's fun. So what I know of it is that the way that it worked is that like they're using the router that's in that.
Yeah, let's start from the top of what the hell we're even talking about. So
true. Okay.
There was this like viral post that I saw. Yeah, you saw it. We saw it like independently.
It's a terrifying post.
But they some scientists or something trained an AI to use a Wi-Fi router as basically like a 3D camera. It can map rooms and people in the rooms, what they're doing. And what they did was they had a camera on the router, basically, like, so it was from the same perspective, and they trained the AI to take the inputs from the router and the camera and use it to plot like where, you know, people that were in the room moving around doing shit. And when they turned off the camera and it was running just off of the Wi-Fi inputs, it was still able to generate an image showing where people were.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, what I don't understand is like, what's it? I mean, I guess Wi-Fi is like, not a Wi-Fi, the routers and the modem, the router itself.
Mm-hmm.
It does put out a Wi-Fi signal, but it also needs to receive in order to, like, you know, when you search something on your phone, it sends that signal to the router and then to the internet and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, you know, it to me, it almost seems like it's using it like LiDAR or radar, where it's bouncing it off and then reading the reflection.
Yeah.
But, like, again, I don't know enough.
Yeah,
but,
that's about all I knew.
How's it even, like,
but I think that
interpreting what's coming back to generate that image?
I know. I mean, like, maybe it's a specific router, and, like, maybe this is, like, what you're saying is, like, it's, like, dead information at any other time. But, like, now that, like, someone looked close enough, they're like, hey, there actually is some information.
Some variances in, like, the signal return here.
Yeah.
It seems to be how it's reflecting off of the room.
Yeah,
or
and
something.
if you calculate that for long enough and you have a reference with the camera on top, like, prior to that, to use that as a data reference, as a, like, hey, that's what this looks like. Let's just, like, verify it against the camera. Yeah. So then, like, that's how you would verify it. But yeah, that's what I know of it, is that, like, it's just, like, this signal that's always there that, like, now people are just looking closer at, and they're like, oh shit, we can just map this whole house out.
Yeah.
Like, it's so crazy. Like,
it's
even
terrifying.
if we don't understand, like, exactly what it's doing, like, down to, like, you know, the method of, like, reproduction, but, like, that's wild. Like, if it's something that we
if that post is true, if that's legitimate, like, that's terrifying.
That's so terrifying.
The implications are terrifying.
Yeah.
Speaking of just because I don't know much more, we can talk about that. We still have some time.
Yeah.
Did you hear about Liberty safes?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Speaking of terrifying implications.
Yeah, I don't care what side of the fence that you live on, and you know what I'm saying. Like, an invasion of privacy is an invasion of privacy.
Yeah.
You know? Like, unless, like, this person is, like, holding someone hostage, and we can, like, we have hard evidence of that. Like, maybe the house code, you know?
Yeah.
But to just go off on a limb and then...
Yeah, so...
This is crazy.
The whole Liberty Safe thing. There's a guy who... he was at the January 6th...
Affiliated.
You know, insurrection.
Somehow.
Well, I don't even think he went into the Capitol building. I think he was just one of the people there. But the FBI decided to raid his house. They show up with, like, 8 unmarked cars and, like, storm this guy's house. And he's got a gun safe where I guess he's kept firearms. I don't know if Liberty advertises their safes specifically for guns or just, like, safes in general where you can just keep shit. But, you know, he had firearms in there regardless. That's besides the point. But, you know, the FBI had a warrant to get into his house. And they wanted to get into that safe. Obviously, it's a safe. It's locked. And he's not telling them, you know, the combination.
Yeah.
So they call up Liberty Safes, you know, the company that makes a safe, and ask them for, like, the backdoor master code to open the safe remotely. Or not remotely, but, like, you know.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the manufacturer code.
Yeah.
That the user doesn't set. The user has a user code that they set.
Yeah, that's not in the manual.
You know, every single, and this is probably common practice for, like, every safe manufacturer, but there is a code that they can use to open that safe. Maybe, you know, you forgot yours or something,
right?
Or or you send it in for like a warranty job and they need to get into it, and they need to be
Yeah.
able to open it.
Yeah.
There's a backdoor code basically. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's the same for everyone, because if it is, that's terrifying. Because that
Holy
means if you
shit.
own a Liberty safe, the FBI now has the code to get into your safe. That's if they're all the same.
Oh shit.
I think it's probably a couple variations that are tied to like serial number.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one master code that opens
Yeah.
every Liberty safe. That would be stupid.
What if it was the
case?
What if it was the serial number?
That's even
damn it.
dumber. But yeah, so Liberty just gives the FBI the code
Yeah.
without like a subpoena.
Right.
Like they got confirmation that the FBI did in fact have a warrant, but that warrant is between the homeowner, that guy, and the
Yeah.
FBI. That
Yeah.
is it.
Yeah.
Liberty had no legal obligation to give up that code.
Yeah.
Apple did a better job of
Refused.
telling the government to fuck off
Yeah.
than Liberty Safe, which is a gun safe manufacturer.
Yeah.
I don't know if like everyone knows this, but typically in the gun community, we're not, they're not very trusting of the government
Yeah.
because, well, they keep pushing gun regulations.
Yeah.
Like if I keep threatening to take your shit, you're not going to trust me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
It's not a trust building exercise for sure.
what the FBI would have needed from like a legal standpoint to force Liberty to give this code up was a subpoena for Liberty themselves.
Yeah.
They didn't have that. Liberty didn't need to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, they just
Just snitched to the
Gave
Fed
in.
boys, bro.
just gave in. And unfortunately, we'll just watch that company just crumble, liquidate.
Yeah, the 2A community is not very forgiving about shit like that.
Yeah.
So Liberty, if like 90% of their business is gun owners,
Yeah.
they're going to be hurting worse
Yeah.
than Bud Light.
Yeah. Yeah, this should probably make a bigger dent than Bud Light did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no, I think it definitely will, honestly, because I don't even think that Bud Light thing was that big of a deal. I think there's a couple people who like took it to heart, but like I think
Apparently
most.
they lost a lot.
I know. I mean,
But
maybe,
they're still in business.
Yeah, they're still in business, but I feel like most people were just like whatever. I
Well-
mean, I think that the social media side like showed them that like this wasn't their angle.
Well,
you know?
here's the thing.
But like people kept drinking.
I don't care
that's
about
all.
the politics behind any of that. Like, I really don't.
Yeah, you don't drink it in public, but
But the whole Bud Light thing was a real lesson in know your demographic.
oh yeah,
The kind of people that drink Bud Light,
yeah,
they don't subscribe to that.
yeah,
They
yeah.
don't.
Yeah, they just want their beer.
And the people that do subscribe to that
Yeah.
don't drink Bud Light.
Yeah. And also, no one likes having, their, like, no one wants that with their medicine. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to package this into something. Like, you don't need to, like, make a message out of,
You're a beer company.
yeah, don't make this a message thing. Like,
Stay in your lane.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I feel like people, try a little bit too hard to, like, push their message in, like, a good or a bad way.
Well, it's called virtue signaling.
Well, without like putting a label on, I'm just saying, like people, they're like the advertisement or like just pushing a narrative or an idea or just getting something to get attention
Where it doesn't belong.
where it doesn't belong, and like the truth is that like if whatever you have to say has validity, like there's a tried and true path to that, like protesting peacefully. But like and especially now social media, like really writing letters and the
You
the
can get a
old
whole
school
movement
stuff.
going.
Yeah, so there's tons of avenues and like people have just taken it to the next level and there's like no stopping. So like
Well,
at a certain point, do you think like, are you
corporations-
shoving it down someone's throat?
Corporations
or-
want to jump in because they see it as like,
But I'm just saying, like, are you shoving it down someone's throat or like do you actually have a perspective?
oh,
It's
you're
like-
going from that angle.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like it's like you've said your message. We all get it. Like if we're all like on board with like X, Y, or Z, then like we're gonna just gravitate to those things like naturally. And especially with social media, like no one missed the mark. No one didn't know who that person was. Like the Dylan Mulvaney. Like we didn't not know who he was. We didn't know who that person was on the Bud Light can.
Honestly, I had no idea who they were until that whole thing.
Okay,
blew
well, I
up.
mean, maybe they reached out to a couple people, but like we knew that these people existed. So like whatever like ideologies or things that you lived up to, or wanted to or believed in, like you're gonna find those things on your own. You don't need them like jammed down your throat. It just seems crazy, and especially on a Bud Light can. Like, a milk crate or a milk carton would have been like a start. You know, like let's just see if prices of milk go up. You know, like that seems innocent. Like I wouldn't care. I would just buy a carton of milk. Get the fuck. Oh, that's crazy. Like, I'm gonna buy milk.
I don't.
But like beer, and you go to Bud Light. I mean, that was a little.
Well,
bit
here's
of a
the thing.
stretch.
I don't drink much beer.
Yeah.
I don't drink at all actually
Yeah.
anymore. But I never did drink Bud.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would have cared if there was like.
That's what I'm saying. It
know,
wouldn't have made
shit
you
on there.
switch. Like if that's what, like if you were the biggest Dylan Mulvaney fan ever, you wouldn't have
I'm
been
not
like,
gonna start drinking Bud now.
yeah, you're like, well, I don't really like it. Like what the fuck?
But like I said though, it's an exercise of know your demographic. The people
Yeah.
that drink Bud Light don't subscribe to
Yeah.
that stuff generally, and the people who do subscribe to that, like ideology and all that, usually aren't drinking Bud Light.
Yeah, yeah.
So you alienated.
and you didn't need the customer
You
base.
alienated your own customer base while trying to pull in a customer base that's probably not interested.
Yeah, I mean, like Bud Light is like the biggest brewing company. Well, I guess like Anheuser-Busch.
Anheuser-Busch, yeah.
is the biggest beer company, but I feel like Bud Light is where they make their money.
Yeah.
I
and
see Bud Light everywhere.
they
and I'm a
alienated
drinker.
their
Yeah,
customer base.
yeah. So they didn't need the customer base.
yeah, they already had a big
had 'em.
customer base, and now you
Gigantic.
just alienated
dude.
at least 50% of them.
As a matter of fact, there's not a single bar that I've ever been to. Jake's.
Jake's probably had cans.
Yeah. So
Not on
even on the lowest of like hole in the walls, still have Bud Light.
Yeah.
You kidding me? Like they didn't.
Although
need,
I think that the other local bar, the Brickhead or something like
Yeah.
that, I don't think they have Bud Light now.
Well, I mean, hey, look, that's their personal decision. I mean, I don't want to bring that into it. I'm just saying.
I'm
all
getting
I'm saying is
secondhand
that Bud Light is
information because
everywhere.
I haven't
There's-
actually been to that bar.
Yeah, but
I don't think I could be wrong.
Yeah, but who cares? But the point is that like Bud Light is usually everywhere before
Yeah.
this, at least. It was everywhere. It wasn't like it was like a Modelo or like one of the other like niche kind of brands, a
MGD.
smaller, MGD or
Which is Miller. Miller's everywhere.
Yeah,
For
or
the most
like a
part.
Rolling Rock, like these like a little bit smaller time. Like those
Yeah,
are
no, I
the
know what you're
brands
saying.
that like get like the deals and stuff where like they're like really trying to get people to like kind of
Mhm.
start drinking it. So like they didn't need that customer base. So I really didn't see the angle in that in the first
They
place.
flew too close to the sun.
Yeah,
Got burnt.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, I feel like both sides of that fence of the Bud Light deal kind of figured out.
How did we
I
get to
think they
Bud
all
Light?
learned.
What were we talking about?
I don't know, and that's why we do the podcast so we can listen to it back later.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's it for now because now we're just spitballing. We're
Yeah.
spitballing. We're talking crazy, we're being wild. So, all good.
Yeah, I think that was a good one.
Cool. Awesome. All right, man. Well, until next time.
Until next time.